Congratulations on the new series.
Thank you.
It feels less like a fiction and more just like a documentary, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Yeah, Danny, I think, did an interesting kind of amalgamation of mixing real life personas and sort of caricatures of people. My character is sort of a composite of multiple different people. So there were scenes where he would say, one of these people that your character is based on, this is word for word what happened in the meeting.
Wow.
Which was very chilling. And that particular person, when reached out to for those scenes, did not want to participate in this story. So that definitely spoke volumes to me that I couldn't interview her because of how devastating going after this case was for her and personally.
Are you serious? If you had said to me at any point in time, a giant pharmaceutical company would be found guilty of purposefully getting people addicted to their products that then, created this giant drug epidemic, I would think, oh, we're going to see people marching away in handcuffs. You're going to see just like this giant shutting down of the company. Yeah. And as you go through in the show, I love that you show like the inner workings of how money from the right sources can just almost fix anything.
Not just that too, but like looking at the time frame, like there's a whole thing that gets revealed a little bit later, but for a lot of people know and remember that Giuliani was the lawyer for Purdue Pharma.
Right.
And this is after 9/11. He could do no wrong. He was like the political darling of the time. No one was going to cross him. So there's so many different moments and beats like that where you see really good people have very important information and still not necessarily make the right choice because of pressure. So it comes from so many different angles. And I think the human tragedy of this is all the human error that went into it. And I hope that what has been the lasting conversation of like the narrative that came from Purdue Pharma, that the real evil people are these addicted people who are ruining it for real pain, people who really have pain, that I really hope that shifts, that narrative changes, because the only people putting money behind the narrative has been Purdue. And for the first time, Hulu, Disney, like they're really putting some energy. Everyone's seeing Dopesick posters everywhere. This is the counter narrative that we've been waiting for a long time, to break away from that stigma and start leading with more compassion and empathy towards the addicted and all the people involved in this terrible crisis.
You have a personal connection to this, because I know you've spoken about how members of your family have struggled with opioids and the after effects and the addiction thereof. Like, so when you're telling the story, is there a part of you that looks for the catharsis? Is there a part of you that goes like, I need to tell this story for more than just acting's sake?
My heart is racing right now, because literally as I was walking over and turning off my phone to airplane mode, being responsible, one of my family members who his whole life was deterred because of heroin. And he just texted me that he's watching it. And it's so interesting because he's a huge reason as to why I wanted to do this project. Wow. A lot of people, we shot this in Virginia, have very personal connections to this story. And that's why my heart's racing right now, because I just sat down, that was the last thing I just read, and it's weird. I don't know why I'm surprised by that. I wasn't expecting him to watch it. I don't know why, like I was doing it from thinking about the experience and my life and like so many things that have come from it. I've talked with Beth Macy, who wrote the book Dopesick. Her next follow-up book actually is on harm reduction. And my mom was one of the first people known in all of Manhattan and the Lower East Side who was handing out clean needles, specifically because of people like this family member, because it was a very stigmatized practice, but was really necessary. And now with all these years, people see how helpful it's been in stopping the spread of HIV and AIDS and other STDs. So again, all of those things fed into me wanting to do this, and still wasn't expecting to get that text. Like, I cannot wait to have this conversation with him later to see what he thinks.
Do you think growing up in a family of activists, and I mean like activists, I think a lot of people these days use activist in like their Twitter bio, #activist, and I get that they have good intentions, but there is an activism that's on the ground. Your family was part of that. I was interested to read about your clothing brand, and I was just like, this is an interesting model. I've seen very few brands where they say, no, this thing is made by Africans with Africans in Africa. It's run from Ghana. This is the thing. It seems a lot harder, first of all.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it seems a lot harder.
That's a bit challenging.
But it seems like there's a purpose behind it. So Studio 189, talk to me about that journey and why you chose to go with, in my opinion, the hardest way to create like African clothing.
Well, so partners are everything, and I met this wonderful woman, Abrima Urwia, when we were teenagers. and she went into fashion, Bottega Veneta,
Yeah.
Hermes, and she wanted to be able to figure out how she could use fashion as an agent of social change. She was studying Muhammad Yunus's work, which is talking about social enterprise and social business. So building into your business the structure that recognizes people along the supply chain and all of that kind of stuff. And when I took her to the DRC with V-Day, which was opening the City of Joy there, we saw what it meant when you invest in community and you invest in people who are going through hardship. It's not charity, it's work, and you give them the dignity of that work and being able to put their own children through school. And so that's what we wanted to do, is like, why with all these companies she's working in, Made in Italy has this reverence.
Yeah, it does.
And those tailors and seamstresses generationally been able to impact their communities. But when you see something made in Africa, it's haggled, it's considered a charity, and it's the quality isn't appreciated.
Right.
And, we're saying, screw fast fashion. This is slow quality fashion, which is not ruining the world. It's ethical, it's sustainable, it's all these beautiful things. We want something that says made in Africa to be considered to have the same quality as something made in Italy or someplace else.
Well, as someone who was made in Africa, I appreciate that. I really do. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
And congratulations on this new show on Hulu. I hope that when people watch this, it'll shape their views, not just on addiction, but on the people who've been allowed to perpetrate that addiction. So thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining me on the show.
Thanks for having me.
The first 3 episodes of Dope Sick are available right now on Hulu.